listen, let's think about your goals, right? So let's say you got, your goals 1, 2, 3, right? Whatever they are, or 5 or 10, whatever, how many you have. But then I want you to think about the very next thought that comes into your head. And the very next thought that comes into most people's heads when they say, oh, I want this, Noah, the very next thought they say is, but I probably can't do it. I want to make more money, but I can't do it because I don't have the time. I want to start a new business, but I can't do it because I can't afford it. Oh, I want to have this goal. I want to do this, but I can't do it because my spouse won't let me. Or, I've got kids, or I'm married, I'm divorced, I'm a Martian, whatever it is, right? We have all these excuses. But here's what I want people to realize. Whatever you say after the word because is the thing that is holding you back right now. It is the thing that is keeping you stuck. I call it your head trash.
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. Have the best show for you today. So do not go anywhere. We're going to start in a minute, and I'm going to let our amazing guest do most of the talking today because he's just too good. So stay here. I'm going to explain a little about our guest today. Dr. Noah St. John is a legendary executive coach, iconic keynote speaker, and #1 best-selling author. Noah St. John, PhD, is recognized as the father of affirmations and the mental health coach to the stars. Noah St. John is recognized as one of the most requested in-demand business and motivational keynote speakers and executive coaches in the world. And we are very fortunate to have him on the Money and You show today. He also has written a couple of new books, and Dr. Noah St. John is known as, again, the father of affirmations. He's the author of 22 books, including his new book, The 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness, and its companion book, The 7-Figure Expert. You can get $300 worth of bonus gifts when you order this book at 7figurelifebook.com. We're going to talk about that on the show. You can learn more. Working with Hollywood celebrities, 8-figure company CEOs, entrepreneurs, make more in 12 weeks than they made in the last 12 months while winning their lives back. Welcome, Dr. Noah.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Great to be here today.
I'm so happy to have you here. You are just such a wealth of knowledge. You have so much experience and have written so many books on so many fascinating topics. It's going to be hard for me to stay focused, so I'm going to let you begin by just kind of giving people an overview of what you're about and how these 2 new books came about.
Absolutely. Yes, Michelle. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, you see these books behind me there. If you're watching on video here, these are a few of my 22 books that I've written. And these are some of my books in other languages, about 18 languages now so far at last count. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm known for helping entrepreneurs, experts, coaches, course creators to literally add 6, 7, and even 8 figures to their business while winning their lives back. And that is a very important phrase that I don't want to overlook, because there's a lot of coaches, gurus out there that say, well, here's how to make more money. All you have to do is work 10 times harder and don't take any breaks, work 14, 16, 18 hours a day, and, never see your kids. That sound like a good deal? And you're like, no, that doesn't sound like a good deal, right? So the point is that what I teach that's different is how to, yes, make a lot more money. We've helped our clients make over $2.8 billion in added revenues over the last 25 years. But I feel more importantly is to win their lives back, literally winning back 1 to 3 hours per day and 4 to 8 weeks per year. So we've got lots and lots of case studies and success stories that people can, go to our website and check those out. But really, it's a very systematic approach to success, which is something that I looked for many, many years and was not able to find, even after I paid a lot of people a lot of money. Yeah. And so, it was something I put together over a period of over 30 years. And so, we've been able to help a lot of people all around the world. And yeah, it's really have a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. And one of the things that I just love about your work, I mean, you talk about the gurus. You are really one of them, but you tackle, I think, what I like to tackle in the financial world, which is sort of this vague kind of instruction that people get, do this or do that or think this way or that way, which doesn't actually help so much because there are too many nuances and too many details that are left out. Right. So do you want to just speak to that for a second?
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny. Many years ago, Oliver Wendell Holmes had a great quote, and he said, "I would not give a fig for simplicity on the near side of complexity, but I would give my life for simplicity on the far side of complexity." Now, here's what that quote means to me. When you have simple on the near side of complexity, that means it's simplified. It is oversimplified. And in fact, it's just so dumb that it's useless. So the example that I always like to give about that, and by the way, you mentioned, I'm an executive coach, a business coach. I'm also a keynote speaker, so I get to speak for companies, organizations, teams, all across the country and around the world, whether virtually or live. One of the things I like to talk about in my keynote presentations is the fact that, when you go on social media, that's all you're going to find. When you go on social media, it's dumbed down to the least common denominator. An example that I always like to give, in my presentations is, one of the secrets of success that was, this big, very popular, meme or video that was out a few years ago was saying the secret to success is to make your bed every morning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that became very popular. And I'm like, really? So that's the key to success is making your bed every morning? Okay, wow. So I made my bed and where's my money? You know what I mean? And that's why it's funny because it's so dumb. But see, people latch onto that because it's so simple. Yeah. But the problem is it's simple on the near side of complexity. That means it doesn't really tell you anything. So what makes my coaching different is that we have simple on the far side of complexity. And in fact, one of my clients years ago said, that he'd gone to a lot of different seminars and gurus and things like that. And, was doing okay. He was doing all right, basically making six figures, but he'd really hit a plateau. And, then he got coaching from me and he says, Noah St. John is the easy button. So I have an easy button here, right here on my desk to remind me, we want to keep things simple, but simple on the far side of complexity. So we like to go like this.
That was easy.
Like that.
That's great. Yeah, it is fascinating because we do gravitate toward those simpler messages that we, right. And I do, in fact, make my bed every morning as a result of all that conversation about how great my day is going to be if I do it.
Okay, where's my money? I made my bed, where's my money? You know what I mean? It's like those two things do not go together.
That's right.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I make my bed every morning too. It's like, okay, where's my money?
I know. And you talk a lot about mindset and basically what we talk about here, which is your overall relationship with money, which, really comes from what you're telling yourself in your head. And you have a great term for that. Do you want to go ahead and just, I love those terms. It's so much better than the ones that I'm using.
We let's call it head trash. Yeah. Right. So this is actually, I've basically written 22 books about this one topic, which is taking out your head trash. All right. So people, ask me all the time. So Noah, what is head trash? What if that's what you're saying, that we have to take out your head trash? Well, what actually is that, and why is that so important to my success? So if you think about it like this, for everybody listening to the program, I want you to think about your goals for the next 12 months. All right. So think about what it is that you want, right? And when it comes to human goals, we humans basically want three basic things, all right? We want health, we want wealth, and we want happy relationships, right? We want, better health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, and so on. We want wealth, right? We want money, we want to have a secure future and so forth. And of course, we want happy relationships. So, right? So think about your goals in those three basic areas, right? That's what I like to call your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. All right. So you have to understand what that is. Right. And a lot of people say, they'll hire me for coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching. We have, all different programs. We have done for you, we have done with you, we have do-it-yourself programs, all different levels. And sometimes I'll talk to a person and they say, well, Noah, one of my goals, I want to make more money. And I say, okay, well, here's $5, go away. You know what I mean? That's not good enough. You can't just say I want more money. I mean, we all want more money, but what does that really mean? Right? For some people, that means an extra $10,000 a month. Some people wouldn't cross the street for an extra 10,000 a month. You see what I mean? So it's different for every person. So you've got to really be very specific when it comes to setting your goals in those three areas. All right. So that's the first step. But then the second step, and everybody says, oh, yeah, set your goals. We've heard that a million times. Right. But here's where it gets different. All right. The point is that what most, what those guys would say, the motivational speakers, what they would tell you is, okay, set your goals and then, get all excited, right? Get motivated. Think about your goals every day and write it down and, focus on it and get motivated. Psych yourself up. Walk on hot coals. Okay, that's great, But here's what I do that's different, right? Because we've all heard that a million times. Well, then why isn't everybody reaching their goals? Because of something very simple that they're not talking about. And that is this concept that I've been teaching for over 20 years called your head trash. So what I say that's different is this. Listen, let's think about your goals, right? So let's say you got, your goals 1, 2, 3, right? Whatever they are, or 5 or 10, whatever, how many you have. But then I want you to think about the very next thought that comes into your head. And the very next thought that comes into most people's heads when they say, oh, I want this, Noah, the very next thought they say is, but I probably can't do it. I want to make more money, but I can't do it because I don't have the time. I want to start a new business, but I can't do it because I can't afford it. Oh, I want to have this goal. I want to do this, but I can't do it because my spouse won't let me. Or, I've got kids, or I'm married, I'm divorced, I'm a Martian, whatever it is, right? We have all these excuses. But here's what I want people to realize. Whatever you say after the word because is the thing that is holding you back right now. It is the thing that is keeping you stuck. I call it your head trash. I can't do it because ... Whatever you say after the word because is your head trash. And what's amazing about that is most people are going to defend that to the death. You're going to defend it to the death. But Noah, you don't understand. I can't do it because I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections. I can't. My spouse won't let me. I this or that or that. And they are defending their own head trash. And what I want people to realize is that, listen, you can either be right or you can be rich. You can either be right or you can be happy. You pick, right? And this is one case where you don't want to be right.
No, that's great. So this head trash or limiting beliefs or whatever you want to call it is what is often keeping people most stuck. That said, even people with the most amazing beliefs and the most, positive and affirming beliefs, if they don't take any action on things, that's also, it goes together. So
that's right.
And I know you speak on this, but do you want to just throw a couple things out there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, we've all heard a million times you got to set your goals. So, okay, you set your goals probably. And then you say, yeah, but then I can't do it because. All right. So what makes my coaching different is we say, all right, what is all of your head trash? Just write it down. I'll give you an example from one of my coaching clients just to make this very clear. Okay. So, I ask all my coaching clients, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And by the way, you can learn more about that at breakthroughwithnoah.com. You see that on the screen. And you can, watch a cool video on that and just, learn more about it and watch a lot of amazing case studies. I've helped people add 6, 7, and 8 figures in record time while winning their lives back. So I was talking with one of my clients. His name's Charles. Now, I said to Charles, like I say to all my clients, I say, so Charles, you've read some of my books, you've heard my teaching, maybe watched my videos on YouTube, and you understand about my teaching of head trash. He says, yes. I said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. How much do you think it's going to cost you if we don't get rid of your head trash this year? In other words, in the next 12 months, how much do you think your head trash is going to cost you if we don't take it out, if we don't get rid of it? Now, without batting an eye, he said $1 million. It's literally going to cost me $1 million if I don't get rid of this head trash that's holding me back right now. And he had, gone to lots of other gurus, seminars, coaches, and all that stuff. But he was, and he was doing well. He was doing well, right? He was making 6 figures, but it was really plateaued like this. It was kind of going along, and I call it hitting your income ceiling. He kept hitting that ceiling no matter how hard he worked, how long he worked, whatever he's doing. Because no one had shown him how to, take out his head trash and do the things that I teach. So the point is, he said, it's going to cost me $1 million. And I said, well, first of all, that's very common. I said, first of all, I hear this every single day. People tell me, Noah, if I don't get rid of this head trash, it's going to cost me $10,000 a month, $50,000, $100,000 a month. Meaning, I'm going to lose out on 6 seven figures in the next 12 months if I don't fix this problem, right? And so that's very common. I mean, that's a lot of money, right, that you're missing out on just from not fixing this one problem, okay? And so I said, well, that's the first thing. I said, secondly, I'll tell you what, I hear this a lot. So why don't you give me 10% of that $1 million? Just give me 10% of that million, and I will find you $1 million in the next 12 months. And so, in other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He said, yeah, that's a good deal. I said, well, let's do it. And he said, okay, let's do it. So he paid me $100,000. That's 10% of $1 million, right? Now, that was for one-on-one coaching for 12 months. So I coached him one-on-one for 12 months. Now, this is why I love working with high performers, because, they make decisions quickly and firmly. They don't dilly-dally. They don't mess around. They just said, let's do it. And we started right away. Anyway, so I coached him in my process, my methodology, showed him how to take out his head trash. Well, in the next 12 months, I didn't find him $1 million in 12 months. I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months. And what was even more impressive about that was he sent me an email and he said, hey, Noah, guess where I am right now? I'm on a 7-week vacation. I just bought a new RV with all this money that I've got now, all this new money that I'm making. And I bought a new RV, and my wife and I were going on a 7-week vacation. We're driving around the Southeast. And he said, not only do I have more money than I ever had, now I have more time than I ever had before. So that is an example of what taking out your head trash can do and the transformation that it can create.
Yes, thank you. That's an amazing story, and but not a unique story, I don't think, in your world.
No,
so,
no, yeah. It's just a really cool story.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so important for people to hear. And again, the head trash is probably going on right now, telling people, well, that's them, not me. But
that's right. Exactly.
That's just not true. And so.
Well, to your point, Michelle, if I may, so you raise a perfect point. I'm so glad you just said that, because that is exactly what people say. Well, oh, sure, it worked for him, but it won't work for me. And I say, what did you call that again? Oh, head trash. Now, wait a minute. Isn't that the thing that I just said was the thing that's holding you back? And they're like, oh, shoot, you're right. And then I say, do you notice that this is the one problem that's causing all your other problems? In fact, I had a coaching client years ago. It was literally one of my very first one-on-one coaching clients many years ago. And after we had finished, our coaching sessions, and he actually doubled his income and tripled his time off. So he doubled his income and tripled his time off. Hello. So he said to me, Noah, do you realize that your coaching is the only coaching that fixes every other coaching? And I thought about it. I said, yeah, you're right. It actually does do that, doesn't it? And I was like, I'm glad it came from you. I'm glad you said it and I didn't say it. See, and I want people to notice something, by the way, and this is a subtle thing, but I want you to notice. The gurus, okay, their success story, have you ever noticed that their main, if not only success story is themselves? Hello? In other words, look how cool I am. Look at my helicopter. Look at my jet. Look at my boat. Look at my car. Aren't I amazing? Look at all this money I made. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's great for you, dude. Have you helped anybody else? And the answer usually is, not so much, right? And here's what I want people to realize. It's a very important point that I make, okay? And that is the difference between personality-driven success and system-driven success. Now, personality-driven success is exactly what it sounds like. It's based on that person's personality, right? And if you look at the gurus, the people who are taking up all the air and the space, they've got very big personalities, right? We all know their names. We all know who they are. And they've got big personalities, and they're like, yeah, look at all this money I made. Okay, guess what? I don't care about your money. I care about my money, says everybody, right? Everybody should be saying this. I don't care about you. I care about me and my family, right? And so the point is, have you helped anybody else? And this is a point that is almost never made in the guru space. So I'm the one kind of planting my flag in the sand saying, hello, maybe we should hold these people accountable. Because the point is, that's the difference between personality and system. When you have a system-driven success, as I call it, well, that means anybody can do it. It means as long as you can follow a checklist, as long as you can, paint by numbers and plug and play and literally fill in the blanks. I give you the blanks to fill, for God's sakes. As long as you can fill in the blanks, then anybody can succeed. That's why you'll notice that my stories are about my clients. Now, of course, I've made plenty of money. I've done well. I mean, I've made millions, I've lost millions. Okay. So I've made plenty of money, but who cares? What people should care about, this is something I've been saying for a while now, and maybe somebody will listen to me someday, is, you know what? Who cares if that guy's made any money? Okay, that guy's rich. Who cares? Have you helped anyone else? So that's my diatribe about personality-driven success versus system-driven success.
I think it's really important because there's something that goes on in the brain that allows you to think that if I just pay attention to this person, right, I'll absorb, I guess, some of their personality, right, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm going to be just
that's
like
exactly that. Right. And I paid all those guys tons of money. I paid them well over $750,000. I mean, $750,000. I paid all those guys, hoping that they would do exactly what you said. Because, see, those images are very seductive to the human brain. Why do you think they do it? They do it because they're great self-promoters. Yeah. They're great at self-marketing. But what I realized after giving them a lot of money and realized they can't teach their way out of a paper bag. And I'm like, my God, they suck at coaching. They're great at self-promotion, but they can't teach. I'm like, So what I finally realized after giving them a lot of money, giving a lot of really bad advice or non-advice, I said, wait a second, there's a huge difference between being a great self-promoter and being a great coach. In fact, they're almost diametrically opposed. So I just want people to realize that you need to do your homework. That's all I'm trying to say. Just make sure you do your homework. And whatever coach or mentor you work with, just make sure they have a system. That's all. Make sure they have a system. How do you know they have a system? Because it's not just about themselves. It's about the people that they've helped, the testimonials. I have friends in the marketing industry, you know, in the internet marketing industry or whatever, and they say, Noah, you got enough success stories? You know, they make fun of me. They're like, Noah, you know, you got more than anybody. I'm like, no kidding. That's the point. It's not about me. It's about the system. That's what it should have always been about in the first place.
Yeah. And I feel like it's the same with the money gurus out there. And, you know, I mean, again, with money, you need a definite system. And it gets very confusing otherwise. And people just get overwhelmed and do nothing because they can't figure it out. So, I love this. And I think it's a good lead in to the 7-figure life and the 7-figure expert, because what I love about the fact that these are books number 21, 22?
20 and 21.
Okay. Yes. Is everything, because you're a learner and you're a teacher, I mean, all of this must just, each successive book must be, you know, that much deeper because you learn so much over time and it incorporates all that. So.
Yes. Well, what's really nice is when you go on Amazon and you read the 5-star reviews from many of my longtime readers who say, you know, Noah's books just keep getting better. And I'm like, that's a really, really not lovely review, you know, for me as the author to read, you know, knowing that I'm not just regurgitating stuff I've said a million times. And I work very hard at that because I hate it when other people do it to me, you know, so I never would want to do it to anyone else. So I do. I mean, every book, all of the books that I've written, they are unique and they are different. And yes, I do go deeper as I learn more. And I, you know, of course, invest in my own learning and continual learning and so forth. And yeah, that's what these books represent.
Yeah, that's great. That's so let's talk about with the 7-figure life, you talk about 4 areas of focus. Can you just touch on that? And you said earlier these are companion books. Maybe you can explain how that.
Correct. Absolutely. So I'll just hold them up just to keep it simple. All right. So we have the 7-figure life, which is how to leverage the 4 focus factors for more wealth and happiness. That's the 7-figure life, or excuse me. So if you go to 7figurelifebook.com, that's this one. And then we also have 7-figure expert, your ultimate guide to a life of more impact, influence, and financial freedom. All right. So this book is actually free at 7figureexpertbook.com. So very easy to remember, 7figurelifebook.com, 7figureexpertbook.com. All right, easy to remember. Okay, so let's talk about the 7-figure life. All right, so 7-figure life is about leveraging the 4 focus factors for more wealth and happiness. So, obvious question, what are the 4 focus factors, Noah? Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I'm a keynote speaker, right? So I get to speak to teams, organizations all around the world, you know, companies, corporations, and so forth. And, you know, I like to play a little game with my audience members, so we could play it right here.
Sure.
All right. So I like to say to my audience members, all right, so let's play a game and I'm going to give you $1 million right now. Sound good? And they're like, well, yeah, of course, that sounds great, right? There's just one catch. And they're like, all right, what's the catch? I say, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million But the catch is that you have no time to enjoy it, right? You have to work all the time. You never see your family, never see your friends, right? You're working all the time. You have way too much to do and too little time. All right. So no time whatsoever to enjoy your money. All right. Sound like a good deal? And they're like, well, no, not really. No. I said, okay, tell you what, I'll give you $1 million, but you have to be sad, miserable, angry, and depressed all the time. Sound good? No. No, that doesn't sound great at all. No. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million, but you have nobody to enjoy it with, right? No relationships, no friends, no family, nobody at all. And you have to be a hermit out in the woods, right? Sound good? No, right? None of that sounds any good, right? So that's how I show people, through a fun exercise that, as great as money is, we all want money, right? But it's not enough, right? We really all want to have these, as I call them, the 4 focus factors of time, energy, relationships, and money. And that is what leads to what I like to call a freedom lifestyle, or, just call it a happy lifestyle, a freedom, a 7-figure life, right? And so this is really, one of the formulas that I've used to help people, whether they're entrepreneurs, experts, coaches, consultants, or, just people working at a job. I mean, whether you're, an executive or just working at a job, whatever it might be, to literally add 6 and 7 and even 8 figures, leveraging these 4 focus factors.
Great. Okay. I love that. So with that, how do you go from there to the 7-figure expert? Who is that for? How does that go with the other one?
Right. So the 7-figure expert is specifically aimed at the person who wants to make money online. There you go, 7-figure expert. So it's really to have that life of more impact, more influence, and financial freedom. So it's really for, consultants, coaches, chiropractors, health professionals, affiliate marketers, network marketers, anybody who really wants to position themselves as an expert in your field, which frankly should be everybody, right? I mean, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you really need to position yourself as an expert, because, and I say this very specifically, I use that word specifically, position yourself, because it doesn't just magically happen. A lot of people think that, well, if I just put out great stuff, the world will be the path to my door. No, they won't. No, that is absolutely not true. It really never was true, maybe a few thousand years ago, but certainly not today. There's just too much noise, too much competition out there. And as I often say, we don't live in the information age. We live in the information overload age, right? We passed the information age 20 miles back. We're all on overload right now. So you really have to follow, again, it's a systematic approach to positioning yourself as that expert, so you can add that 6, 7, and even 8 figures, which we've helped a lot of people do.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that it's for everybody. It's for anybody in any profession, because when you first see it, you think, oh, well, I'm not a motivational speaker, but it's not that. It's for the doctors and dentists and, anybody out there who just, like you say, is an expert and probably is frustrated that all their expertise and their knowledge and their desire to serve are sort of lost in the scene. Yeah,
I'll give you a perfect example of that, Michelle. We had, we also have, I mentioned a moment ago, we have done for you, done with you, and do it yourself services. So one of the done for you services that we have is we actually help people get their book done. Because, I've written all these books, published so many books. I'm actually the only author in history that's had works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Mind Valley, The Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher, and Nightingale Conant. Nobody else in history, no other author in history has ever done that except me. So I'm the only one. A category of one, if you will. And anyway, so, a lot of people ask me, I want to write a book. Can you help me get my book done? I'm like, yeah. So we launched this Book Done For You program. So one of the clients that we're working with, as an example, is a stem cell doctor in Nashville. And he's actually worked with a lot of professional athletes and collegiate athletes and so on. So, but he told me that he has had this idea for a book rattling around his head for about 10 years. Well, we got it done for him in less than 8 weeks, from literally A to Z. So we get that all done for you. And then, of course, we actually have the funnel done for you service as well. So we actually build your funnel so that you can, sell it. All right. So the point is that whether you do it alone or whether you have my team help you with it, I strongly believe that everybody listening to this program really should have a book. Some studies show that 80% of American adults want to write a book, but of course, fewer than 5% have ever done it. And, I'm one of the few people that have written many, 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 many books. So the point is, we help you get that done. and I just want to say it again, we have a systematic approach to that, right? If I just said, okay, go write a book, and you'd be like, well, where do you want me to start, right? And that's the whole point. People don't know where to start. They don't know how to finish, and of course, they don't know how to launch it. So we have a process for all of that. And, from 10 years to 8 weeks is pretty good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then the marketing part on the other end is also fantastic, right, because I do know a lot of people who have written books and they're so excited and they get them done. And then, how do people actually find them? So, no, that's great. I love that. So as far as the 7-figure expert and that system, can you give us a few kind of highlights of the system and how long it would take to implement?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what I just want to show you here real quick is right here, and in all my books, you'll notice there's a lot of diagrams and pictures and things like that and illustrations, because the human mind works well in pictures. Well, it works in pictures, right? If I say Apple, you either picture an Apple or maybe your iPhone or an Apple computer or something like that, but you picture something, right? So we give you a lot of illustrations and diagrams to help you, to implement this, right? And of course, we help you too. We have done for you and done with you coaching and so forth. But, I want people to be able to take it. And if they want to use it on their own, you're empowered to do that. And that's great. So my point is that, the 7-figure expert is a formula. We call it the 7-figure expert formula. Right. And so the point is that this came about as a result of my giving all those guys all that money, only to find out they can't teach them out of a paper bag. So I had to cobble these nuggets together. That just, a little nugget here, a little nugget here. I'd give this guy all that money and I get a little nugget here. I'd give that guy all that money, get a little nugget here, and so on. So it really came as a result of, well over 20 years of spending a lot of time, money, and effort. And so, that's what the 7-figure expert formula really is. It boils down to really just 5 elements, and that is your beliefs, habits, offers, funnels, and traffic. And when you look at those 5 elements, the reason I give you that formula, well, number one is to say, so that you as the reader, as the expert, can go, okay, where am I not doing it right? Or what is lacking right now for me? I'll give you an example of that from another one of my clients named Tamisa, and she's an entrepreneur in Arizona. And she had, same as the story is pretty much the same. She spent a lot of money on a lot of things. In fact, she's a self-proclaimed seminar junkie. That's her term, right? She's going to all these seminars, spending all this money, but, kept hitting that income ceiling. Was doing okay, doing 6 figures, but still kept hitting that ceiling no matter what she tried. So she joined one of my group coaching programs, and, I was walking her through my 7-figure expert formula. And we call that the 12-week breakthrough. And that's where, we actually show people how to make more in 12 weeks than they did in the past 12 months, and while winning your life back. And so I actually, was showing her the formula and giving her the steps to do it. Well, she tripled her investment in 2 weeks. And just 2 weeks, tripled her investment. All right. So talk about hockey stick growth, right? You go along like this and then whop, hockey stick. And the funny part about that was we hadn't even got to the money part yet. We hadn't even started talking about money, and she already tripled her investment in just 2 weeks. So, that's an example of how fast this really can work, because it's a systematic approach.
Yeah. And so, when people do this program where you're destined to make as much in 12 weeks as you would make in 12 months, again, probably my head trash is saying, but that sounds like it's a full-time commitment every day, all day for 12 weeks. So I bet it's not, but that's where my head is going.
No, that's great. I love that you're bringing this up. This is wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same thing. Because let me say it this way, because so many people have tried so many things, they're really on overwhelm, like I was talking about earlier, right? We don't live in the information age, we live in the information overload age. So most people that I coach, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching, they're already on overwhelm. So one of the big things that I do as people call me the breakthrough coach, because I'm known for the breakthroughs, right? Getting people breakthroughs, 6, 7, 8 figures in record time. So getting those breakthroughs, one of the most important things that we do is simplify, right? Literally cutting through the clutter and clearing the chaos. All right. I actually call it conquering the chaos. So we conquer the chaos, meaning here's what not to do, right? Here's what you can stop doing. Most people, if you talk to most entrepreneurs, business owners, experts, they have a huge, long to-do list every day. Their to-do list is a mile long. And that's not great, right? And number one, you're setting yourself up for failure, because your to-do list today is probably the same as it was yesterday, last week, the week before, the week before. And, that just leads to depression and frustration. Believe me, I know, I've been there, and it's like, it's just never ending to-do list. So one of the things that I do as the breakthrough coach is I say, you know what, let's start you on a stop doing list. Here are some of the things you can stop doing. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, here are some things that you are doing that you, as the expert, as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, shouldn't be doing. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't be done. I'm just saying you shouldn't do them, right? So there are many, many things. Of course, it's different for each individual person, depending on where you are, that 6, 7, or 8-figure level, whatever you're at. But the point is that's a very customized issue or solution for each person, right? And so the point is that once you have a stop doing list, you realize, wait a minute, I'm doing all these things right now that aren't actually leading to me having more time, energy, relationships, and money. Maybe I should stop doing them, right? Going back to Charles as an example, that was one of the things that we worked on that helped him to get that extra, 1.8 million, call it $2 million in less than 10 months, and that is not an uncommon occurrence, right? And so again, I could give you so many more stories, but let me just give you one quick example of that. We had one client named Aubrey, and you've heard of the phrase working yourself to death? Mm-hmm. That phrase, you're working yourself to death. She was actually doing that. She was literally working herself to death before she met me, before she hired me. And she had been working in her own business for 15 years with no growth whatsoever. Now, she was doing well, but she was literally working herself to death. In fact, she was in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. She'd put herself in a wheelchair because she was working 14, 16, 18, 20 hours a day and still was seeing no growth. So no matter how hard or how long she was working, no growth. Her doctor said, you can't do this. You're literally going to work yourself to an early grave. So it's very serious. And a friend told her about me, referred her to me, recommended her to me. And so, she joined my breakthrough program. And I told her about this concept that I'm talking about, the stop doing list. And she was like, it was like the first time, and you could just see the weight coming off of her. And in less than 12 months, her business doubled. After 15 years of no growth whatsoever, working herself to death, 12 months, doubled her income. That's a great example of how you really don't have to work yourself to death to get these really big breakthroughs.
Yeah. I always had a really strong work ethic. I had this epiphany not too long ago myself with what I'm doing. And so this, I really was just listening intently while you were talking because it's a little devastating. It's a little hard for your ego to, even deal with the fact that maybe for the last 10 years, if you had let go of a bunch of things that weren't really making a difference and that you shouldn't have been doing. But, that's not a reason to not make a change.
No, no, it isn't. Good reason. Good way to beat yourself up, though. Yeah.
Very. It's so profound, really, because I think we get. And again, you talk a lot about habits. We get in certain habits, and we just go on autopilot. Usually, some of the things obviously are important and worthwhile, but. My sort of recognition was that so much should be delegated to somebody else or shouldn't be done at all.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And there's when you're starting your business, it's obvious that, you're it. You're everything. You're the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, the chief bottle washer, the janitor, and the head cheerleader, all in one. But after a while, you've got to get to the point in your business where you're not everything. And, looking at whether you're at 6 figures, 7 figures, or 8 figures, there's always different things that we as entrepreneurs, as experts need to delegate. So it's a very customized thing. You can't just say, okay, well, start doing that. It depends on the person, on the where they are and so forth and their team. But, my basic thought is your business should exist to serve you, not the other way around. And just that thought alone is a big aha moment for many entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener for sure. And if you continually ask yourself these right questions about what you're doing, you can definitely start shifting in that way. You talk a lot about unconscious habits of success. I talk a lot about unconscious habits that will sabotage your money. But let's talk for a minute about, because we don't have too much time left, I'm afraid, but Yeah, can you just delve into some of these unconscious success habits?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, really, that's the essence of my teaching is called the Power Habit System. This is another one of my books called Power Habits. And, going back to my point that I love diagrams and illustrations, that is the power habits. So what I teach is the power habits of unconsciously successful people. Now, that sounds like a mouthful, but it's very simple. What I realized over 25 years ago, and this was one of my breakthroughs that I had that led to a lot of breakthroughs for a lot of people, is that highly successful people, the naturals, the one percenters, are literally doing habits unconsciously that they don't even know they're doing, number one, and therefore, number two, they can't teach it to you. So this is one of the reasons why so many people are self-help junkies, seminar junkies, like my client Tamisa I was telling you about, and going to all these seminars and going to all the gurus. And they're not saying anything wrong, but they're also not saying anything helpful, right? So it's like saying, set your goals, think positive, believe in yourself. Okay, well, you didn't say anything wrong, but you didn't say anything, right? So what I realized many years ago, and this is the essence of my teaching, is that when you're looking at these highly successful people, we have to remember it's like an iceberg, right? The 5% is visible above the surface. That's the conscious habits. But the vast 95%, it's just like the iceberg, right? The bottom part of the iceberg, that's your unconscious habits. And what I realized is that highly successful people, these people, we all look up to, are unconsciously competent at allowing themselves to succeed. And what that basically means is they don't have head trash. So let me ask you a question. If someone has never had head trash and never had to overcome it, how could they possibly teach you how to overcome your head trash? The answer is they couldn't, because they don't even know it's there. And they're saying, well, what's the wrong with you dum-dums? Just believe in yourself. Just don't hold yourself back. Oh, great. Thanks a lot. It's like saying to someone who's trying to lose weight, well, why don't you just lose weight? Really? I never thought of that. Thanks a lot. None of this helps. It wasn't wrong, but it also didn't help. You know what I mean? And that's, really one of the things that makes my coaching different. Like I said earlier, my client said, no, your coaching is the only coaching that fixes every other coaching. I think that's one of the reasons, because it's about the unconscious habits that these guys don't even know they're doing, and therefore they can never teach it to you. And as I always say to my clients, or even in my keynote speeches, it wasn't the 5% of the iceberg that they saw that sunk the Titanic. It was the 95% that they didn't see that sunk the Titanic. And that is what's sinking most of us too.
Yeah, wow, that's a great analogy. Yeah, thank you. I think, there's so much more to talk about, so I would love people to be able to reach you and access your books. I know there's one of them that you're giving for free. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
And thank you.
That is the 7-Figure Expert book. So it's very easy. Just go to 7figureexpertbook.com. 7figureexpertbook.com. Easy to remember. And the book is free because you're watching this program right now or listening to me. So 7figureexpertbook.com. The book is free. I've covered the cost of the book. We just asked you to cover the shipping. So we ship anywhere on planet Earth. I was checking my orders the other day. We actually got an order from an entrepreneur in Uganda.
Wow.
And, we shipped it to him. I didn't realize shipping to Uganda is very expensive, but we did it anyway. So 7figureexpertbook.com.
Great. And then the 7-Figure Life book you can also purchase on Amazon. Is that correct? Or
that's right.
On your website?
And if you go to 7figurelifebook.com, you get the $300 of bonus gifts as well.
Okay. That's a great deal right there. Well, Dr. Noah, thank you so much for being here. It was a real pleasure to meet you and have this conversation. I'm super excited to read your books. I'm super excited to hear more about getting some help writing a book. And so thank you. This has been great. And I hope people will go and buy the books and or get the free book and definitely follow you. I have Power Habits as well. That looks amazing. So yeah, you've got and the Affirmations book, which I've been hearing a lot about. And so that's another great one.
Well, I'll have to come back, Michelle.
You will have to come back. I think we could do easily a show on affirmations because that's huge.
Yes, definitely. And yes, let me know about that book. We'll get that book done for you.
Okay. I absolutely will. And thank you. And I so appreciate your time and you being here today.
My pleasure.
So, okay. And listeners, thank you so much for being here. We love having you show up for the Money and You show. If you like the show, share it, leave a review, give us a like. We'll be showing up on all the podcast platforms, on Roku, on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. You can find us And you can find me at Michelle with 2 L's at limitfreelife.com. If you have any questions, any suggestions for future shows, we love to hear from our listeners. So thanks so much. We'll see you next week.